Good day, South Africans. Welcome again to Advocate Mekwa Speaks. As I've indicated before, we are still busy looking at the South African Human Rights Commission work. They've been busy with the national investigative hearings into the July unrest. And the last video, we focused on the chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Mapanywa, and we looked at the funny moments indeed, and they were really funny moments, especially according to me, and for those that actually have the background or an idea into the military. But today I think it's important that I dedicate this video to the serious critical things that were said by the general, which I think every South African citizen, and more importantly, any would-be enemy, any would-be destabilizer and or enemy, whether it's internal and or abroad, that they need to take note of. And I think these were just a few of the most dynamic statements, and there were many I could have quoted from, but these for me were critical. Let's move right on to the first one. And the general indicated that, you know what, South Africans and also would-be enemies must refrain from challenging our values and our constitution. South Africans and would-be enemies must refrain from challenging our values and our constitution. So that's a very stern warning from the chief of the South African National Defence Force, that whoever messes with the values and the constitution of our country will have to suffer what they must. It's very clear. It can't be clearer than that. Let's move right on to the second one. He says, if South Africans respect the police, they won't see the boot or the soldier on the streets. And this is a very simple thing. People are complaining about the soldiers on the streets. They were complaining during the Operation Notlela about soldiers on the streets, the abuse, the whatever alleged abuse by soldiers and so forth. But one thing is clear: if you respected the police, if you listened to the rules of the country, you would not have been in a position where soldiers are dealing with you properly, right? So I think this is a very important principal position. When soldiers are doing their work, they're not gonna be playing around, all right? And it's better for you as South Africans and all enemies and all whoever you are to respect the rule of law in this country. It's as simple as that. Let's move right on to the third point. He says, soldiers are not designed for public order policing. They are designed to defend the republic. And this is a very clear issue. We're not there to run after protesters as the defense force. I think that is more what you could have said, or play games with people that are destabilizing the country. But if it gets to a point where the country's security is at risk, they will not hesitate as the Sandf to intervene and sort out the problem, and they'll do so decisively as they did with the July unrests. But nevertheless, let's move on to the next point. He says that we shall fight side by side with our women. We shall fight side by side with our women. And here, indeed, the general emphasized very clearly the role of women within the defense force and indicated that whatever gender you are, you can reach even the highest echelons within the defense force. Your skills will be recognized, your worth, your contribution will be recognized. And if you're giving your part, you're doing well as a female person, you will reach the highest echelons within our defense force. So that is for me a very good change and or expression, because as a constitutional defense force or a defense force of the people, we must embrace, right, our constitution and make sure that everyone having an interest in joining the defense force is given a fair chance to be fully what they want to be, all right? Let's move right on. And then he said that the SANDF has never been mobilized on the basis of private interest or by private companies, but on the basis of a request by the South African Police Services and employment papers signed and approved by the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. And I think this is very clear, that South African National Defence Force is resourced, and particularly for the defense of the Republic, right? And no private interests dictate such an employment, right? And this was very clear, and it was made clear by the Commander-in-Chief that he employed the Defence Force and not private companies protecting private interests. And I think the Chief also made it very clear that the Defence Force was never, ever, ever captured, nor will it ever be captured by anybody. So don't take chances and don't name drop, because the South African National Defence Force can never be captured by anybody, right? And then let's move right on. He made another very interesting point, and he said, if you want us to fight for you, we are combat ready, and we will fight for you. The Defence Force is ready to defend this country. There can never be a clear warning that the Defence Force, which is the Defence Force of the people of this country, for the people, by the people, stands ready to defend the Republic. And nobody, therefore, must take chances when it comes to this. Nobody must be confused about this, that we will not play with would-be enemies. They will be dealt with appropriately. And this was a clear intent and statement and or warning by the Chief of the South African National Defence Force. Let's move right on, all right? There was a point that I loved a lot, and the Chief says, in whatever we do, we should put the interest of the nation first. In whatever we do, we should put the interest of the nation first. Not the interest of some private companies, some private individuals, the interest of the nation first. And this is a commitment I believe every single citizen should make, every single government employee should make, that the interest of the country far outweighs the interest of the individual. And I believe, for me, I felt encouraged and energized through this statement coming from the Chief of the South African National Defence Force. Let's move right on. And he made another very powerful statement, and he said, we all have a responsibility as a collective for the security of our people. In other words, every single one of us have a role and responsibility towards ensuring the security of our nation. Nobody can be a standby, right? We all need to come to the party and ensure the security of our nation. Now, South Africans, I'm normally just for rights, and we love rights. And there was actually a statement that the Chief said that caught my attention. And he says, the rights we demand must be reciprocated by our obligations. The rights we demand must be reciprocated by our responsibilities. We cannot just as citizens come and claim my rights, my rights, my rights, but then there are no corresponding obligations attached to that. And this is, for me, a very critical issue. And I agree with the Chief. We must ensure that people of South Africa ask themselves what they can do for the country more than what the country can do for them. And in such a democracy, I believe, more of us as citizens would add value then to the country. All right, let's move right on. He says, the reason for our existence is to employ forces in order to protect and defend our people in line with the Constitution. And it cannot be clearer than that. The Defence Force is not there to abuse the people of this country. It is there to defend and to protect them, the territorial integrity of this country. And you can be happy that the Defence Force is for you as South Africans. You can sleep at night, rest assured that the borders of this country are being secured by the People's Armed Forces, the South African National Defence Force, and that they are working for you and they stand ready to defend you against any enemy, internal and external. And that, for me, was a relief to say that there are people sacrificing when others are sleeping so that we can enjoy the very sleep that they are denied, you know. So thank you very much, South African National Defence Force. And there's this other thing that he also said, and he explained the Defence Force philosophy, and he said it is the defense philosophy is anchored in human security. In other words, the defense philosophy of the SANDF is human-centered. It's human-centered. In other words, you as South Africans are the center of how the Defence Force moves, breathes, and have its being. Because at the center of what they do lies you, your best interest as a South African. You know, we are so fortunate as South Africans to have leaders of this caliber that can tell us clearly, openly, simply that we matter as South Africans. So the Defence Force says, the Chief of the Defence Force says that we matter, and that in whatever they are doing, we are at the center. We are at the center. It can't be clearer. It can't be more better put, South Africans. You are important to our soldiers. So I loved that. And lastly, South Africans, and I think I've said a lot, and the Chief said a lot, and there's a take home. He says, the only way the cake can grow is if we create a safe and secure environment. And I think the President, Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, said this also, that if we want the economy to grow, the government has a responsibility to create an environment. How do you create that environment? The security structures must be in place. The Defence Force must be in place. Investor confidence. People must know that when they open businesses in South Africa, that those businesses are secured. And this is where the Chief of the South African National Defence Force clearly confirmed that the role of the South African National Defence Force is to contribute to making that environment secure and safe, to make South Africa safe for all of us, right? For all of us, so that business can thrive, so that people can move and the economy can grow. Because if South African National Defence Force and other security structures are doing their work, you can go about doing your business and exploiting the skills, the talent, businesses, and we can go and invest and do all sorts of things so that every one of us in this country can grow. South Africans, it cannot be simpler and clearly articulated. At the core of the South African National Defence Force is you. Their defense philosophy, as the Chief said, is anchored in human security. So South Africans, lift your SANDF high, be behind them, support them, and help them to protect you. Thank you very much.